to the NAREB Twin City Chapter podcast on why choose a Realtist. We've done many podcasts, and I just encouraged our listening audience to listen up to our other podcasts that we have out there. One of the podcasts that we've done is the history of NAREB, money management, building a budget, how to purchase in 2023. We've also done a money management on generational wealth building and legacy building. And we've also done an affordable lenders showcase. Today's podcast is about why choose a Realtist. Today, we have four, including myself, local real estate agents. I'd like to first start with introducing Lisa Carter. Lisa is with REMAX Results. She is a real estate agent. I also have Brian Parker with Coldwell Banker. He's a part of the Parker House Group. He's a real estate agent and also a broker, and we'll talk about the differences in a real estate broker and an agent. We also have Melissa Pugh, who's with ZigZag Realty, and she's also a realtor and a broker. So welcome, each of you, to today's podcast. So before we start diving into why choose a Realtist, because we're going to educate people today, where they're going to find out, they're going to know at the end of today's podcast, what's a Realtist, what's a realtor, what the difference is. But before we get into that, I'd like to hear from each of you to just tell us a little bit about something about yourself, the company you're with, how long you've been in the business. I'm sure people want to know that. And what makes you passionate about the work that you do in helping people achieve home ownership. Lisa, we'll start with you.
All right, I am Lisa Carter, and I'm with REMAX Results out of the Brooklyn Park office. And I have been a realtor for approximately 22 and a half years. And I got into real estate, and I'm passionate about helping people become homeowners, and that is and was very important to me. And it gives me joy because a lot of people don't know that they can become homeowners, and they can.
That's good. Thank you. Brian?
I'm Brian Parker, obviously, with the Parker House Group, Coldwell Banker. I've been in the business quite a while now. My purpose has always been driven with helping people achieve the goal of home ownership. And it seems to be a bigger check than the commission check, actually, when you're seeing people happy about that accomplishment in their lives. So that's been the drive for quite some time now.
That's great. Thank you for that. Melissa?
Yes, my name is Melissa Pugh. I'm with ZigZag Realty. I'm a real estate broker. I got into the business approximately 16 years ago after I sold my tax office in the Twin Cities. The reason that I became a realtist is because I want to promote generational wealth, and I know real estate is the number one way to do it. I've seen it through taxes, and I've seen it through my community. It's created quite a few millionaires, and I want everyone to have that opportunity.
I think that's great. You know, I think in the Twin Cities area, I think the Black communities of color are I consider them underserved, right? I mean, if you look at the statistics, white home ownership is, what is it now, like 75%? Could be close to 80%. Versus Black home ownership, they're saying 25. I always question that, and I think it's lower. And I think even after COVID, numbers are going down because that, a lot of different things happen. We've dealt with disparities for years here, right? And I think it's really great that, we have people that are passionate about doing this type of work. I sold real estate for quite a few years also. And, me and Brian were talking the other day in terms of, because people ask you things like, who do you serve, right? Majority of my customers are basically single women who have children, right? That never thought they'd own a home. And I think when you are sitting at the closing table and you see them signing and you see them opening up their door to their new home, that's very rewarding, right? Because then they're starting something for their families. They're starting that legacy of building wealth. So that's very important. And that's one of the things NAREB is about, right? Helping to build that wealth in communities, especially communities of color. So I just want to start out by thanking you guys for the work that you do, because it's so important. We do this type of work to make a change and make a difference in our communities. So thank you for that. Let's start with the first question. I'm going to start with, we had talked about this because we talked about educating people so they'll leave here understanding what is a real estate agent, a realtor, a realtist. Are they the same? They're not the same, right? And I think we need to really help educate. So what is a realtist? And I'll start with you, Brian. What's a realtist? What's your definition of a realtist?
My definition of a realtist would be a realtor of color. It was started because at one point we weren't allowed to be realtors. And people have the assumption that once you get your real estate license, you're a realtor. But in actuality, until you subscribe to or become a member of the National Association of Realtors, you can't use the word realtor, even though you're licensed. However, prior in way back when, 1947, which wasn't really that long ago, which NAREB just celebrated their 75th year. We're actually in that celebratory year of 75. We weren't allowed, so of course we make a way, and we decided that we'll be realtists. That's the origin. That's the difference between realtor and realtist. You can be one or the other or both now, but there was a time we didn't have that choice.
Yeah. And that's an important point to bring out because, you think of real estate agent, right? So real estate agent is you get your license, right? That's a real estate agent, right? The next step is typically a realtist or a realtor. It's kind of two different paths, right? National Association of Realtors, you get to become a realtor. But I think that that other step is what we do as a NAREB, part of NAREB, is really to being a realtist and what differentiates that.
Yes, and the difference is, it's us doing what we do, and not to exclude, because you can be a realtist now no matter what color you are, or even not just a realtor, but you can be a lender, appraiser, anything in the real estate profession.
That's a great point. And do you guys want to add to that? Because I think Brian just mentioned it. It's more than just being a real estate agent, right? To be a realtist, you just don't have to be a real estate agent or a realtor.
Correct.
What does that mean?
Well, what was nice about joining NAREB was being able to connect and network with appraisers, inspectors, especially because in the real estate world, you need a network of people that you can rely on and fall back on in case you have to accomplish a goal. So having that access to all those people for me is invaluable, especially lenders, seeing what kind of programs they have out there for buyers that would be my buyers. So I really do like that.
That's great. Thank you for getting personal. What about you, Lisa? Why did you choose to become a realtist?
I think it's very important educating the community and my clients about the importance of home ownership. What I find very valuable about being a member of NAREB is the community. If I have a question about something or something's challenging, I can run it by because there is an array. We have title people, we have loan officers, and I network with a lot of other agents, such as Brian. And I find it very helpful. It's resourceful, so I know about new programs for model cities, for PPL organizations like that. Their credit home ready programs are important. I get to be in the know about that, so I can relay that information on to my people that might need that information. So I find it really valuable.
That's great. And I think what you said something key, Lisa. You said community. And I think that's truly important because I started thinking about NAREB. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I'm the chair of NAREB Twin City, right? And it is truly a community. And let's talk about who's all a part of the community. I think you guys mentioned some. We have real estate agents, of course. We have loan officers. You mentioned that, Lisa. I think we have insurance agents, right? We have appraisers, right? But there's and who am I? Home inspectors. Keep going. Let's go. The list keeps going on and on. We also
Contractors.
Contractors. That's great. We also
Accounting.
tax accounting, legal resources, right?
And other nonprofits.
Nonprofit organizations. So it's a community. We have like PPL, PRG, Model Cities, Minnesota Home Ownership Center. I'm probably leaving somebody out. Did I say NeighborWorks? Right. Home Partners, right. And so it's a community of people really working together. And we've really been trying to our best are being focused on communities of color. And I think that's important because that's the community, those are the ones that have been underserved, our community, right? And I think that's very important. Now elevate that to, we're talking about NARAB Twin Cities, but let's elevate that because NARAB's bigger than the Twin Cities, correct? NARAB is a national organization, and we just came from a conference, right? There was a conference recently in Houston, Texas, and it was, I don't know, was it the 75th year? I think, Brian, that you had mentioned that?
Last year's convention was the actual celebratory 75th year, but we're in that 75th year. So
okay, that's what you meant. Right,
yeah.
right. And so we have a picture on the screen of the Twin Cities chapter that was in Houston, Texas, and that represented us there. And that was right before the Parade of States. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And I know that Melissa and also Brian were a part of that. So does you guys want to share what was going on during this time?
Well, it's a time when we were able to see which states were represented at the national convention, and they line you up based on your state, and then you're able to wear your personalized jersey, which is a representative of our chapter.
So we came out with the purple, right?
Yes.
And purple was stood for what?
Prince.
Prince, of course.
Yes. and so we were able to parade with our with everyone from our chapter in the building with all the other states, and it happened right before they did their voting on electing the new board for NARAB.
That's great. That's great. And I heard that there was record attendance there.
Yes.
This year. There were more than 1,200 people there.
Yes.
And so that was pretty significant for the organization. So
It's
great.
good to see that many of us in one place that do the same thing. In the warmth and the welcoming of everybody from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's like nobody's like clicked up like, oh, you guys are Minnesota or whatever. Everybody's like, hey, come on, glad you're here. Get a plate.
Right, right. So what was the conference like? What did you get out of the conference? Just kind of share a little.
Well, there was education. There was stuff that like you can pick whatever you want to go to, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the breakout sessions included whatever kind of topic might be on your mind that's pertaining to you. So for instance, I have the Parker House group. So I was concerned and I went to a couple of the sessions that have things to do with building your teams and how to vet and how to manage and recruit and retrain and train and all that kind of thing. So I got a lot out of that. I mean, of all the conferences I've gone through for real estate conventions here and there, not including, not outside of NARAB, that, I've gotten the most out of going to these.
No, that's great. Yeah. That's great. I'll tell you, one of the sessions that I went to, and I think the Minnesota Realtors is looking to do something soon, is on safety for realtors, real estate agents. When you got to be careful. You just can't go into a house and show a house blind, right? Mm-hmm. You have to scope out things and know where things are. And there's a certain way that you park, right? And you guys know this. You don't just park right, go in the driveway, right? You park on the street because you want to be able to, if you need to get out of there soon, if you back up, somebody's blocking you, right? So you need to park on the street. So there was different tips that they were providing.
Etiquette.
So yeah, definitely. What about you, Melissa? What did you get?
Well, my favorite one from the Houston NARAB convention would be the crypto.
Oh, okay.
So they talked a lot about purchasing homes using crypto and how crypto is moving into the next phase of monetary spending in the world.
Okay, so if somebody wants information, they can reach out to you on this one, right?
The expert.
She's the expert now, right?
But it was fascinating because they said that the way people were purchasing homes, they weren't liquidating their, let's say, Bitcoin. They weren't liquidating. They just took it as a loan against their value.
Okay.
and they were loaning out 10 times the amount of their value
Oh,
and
okay.
purchasing a home outright, and then going and taking a loan against that home and pulling that equity out and buying another home.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like a whole nother podcast we could do.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So I think one thing that, it was great just being amongst other realtists, right? And just having those sidebar conversations and finding out things that are happening in other markets, right? Because as I started out talking about, it's bigger than NAREB Twin Cities, right? We have a whole national group across the country that supports NAREB. I love when it's like-minded, right? When people are on the same level and doing similar things. So I think that's really great. So thank you.
And also, real quick, what also was great was the fact that people were there 24/7. So it wasn't like you had to reach out to someone between this hour and this hour. You were able to connect with them at different times of the day, at breakfast, at dinner, afterwards when you went out, to see the town. You're able to shoot ideas off of people. And because they were from all over the country, there was no competitive nature. There was no hoarding of information. They were free and they shared what worked in their area. So that was very helpful.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing that.
I connected with someone there from the Tampa convention, and I ended up on her podcast. She's out of Ohio.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so again, the networking is ridiculous. It's so necessary. And like you said, I like being in NAREB for the community of it all. And it's like you said, because we're everywhere, there's no competition. It's just whatever we need, how can we help each other out?
Yeah. I think that's important. And as we talked about, that differentiates us from NAR. Because for me, NAR has been pretty national. You kind of, MLS, and they'll send you emails. And then, you got the Minneapolis area that kind of gives you up-to-date information. But it's not about the community. You're never able to really socialize with other realtors unless it's like a continuing education type event, right? But ours is more than that. There are many benefits that go along with being.
And I should say the name of the person, too. Her name is Eileen Cobb from Coldwell banker in Cleveland. She's the one that called and was like, I'm doing this podcast, and so it's a radio station podcast kind of thing. But yeah,
that's great.
I would say one thing about our local NAREB chapter is we are a community, and I didn't go to the convention, but when you go there, it's networking because you're meeting other people and information. So I think it's a big difference between community and networking, because I think community, you're coming to be a giver, and you're bringing your gifts, your information, your talents. And I think that's a group that we do, and we all have a common bond to help the community, but we are a community coming from a place of service.
That's great. So let's talk about benefits. We had kind of hit on that. We talked about nationally, right? The conference. But what were some of the benefits that you see? We'll start with you, Lisa, in terms of being a realtist.
I would say the benefit for our chapter, it's the people, the community that I get to meet and learn about and learn what they do, and how they help serve people. And how I take that with me to my clients is I know I've met this great group of people. It could be a loan officer, Imelda, who's an inspector. I can say, hey, I know a great person. She does a great job, and it brings into my business. I'm helping a buyer. They need an inspection. I know that's somebody that I can put in good hands, and I know that they're going to take care of them. I think one thing that is important about being a realist is taking the time to explain the process, because we are working with primarily first-time home buyers. So it's very important to educate the clients. And working with, for me, being a realtist, is that the people that I refer, they're taking the time and explain it too. So it's not, if you don't know about buying a house, it can be overwhelming. And we explain it in layman's terms that they can understand, and taking the time.
That's good. Thank you. What about you guys? What do you see some of the benefits? And we have some listed on the screen, but what do you think?
I second on some of the stuff we talked about before, as far as like the networking and the resource sharing and just the information that we probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere else amongst ourselves. What's going on in the community that, like, oh, okay, that program's available. Oh, I didn't hear about that. Those kinds of things. So that's a big one for me.
Definitely. When you said that, I think about in corporate America, right? You're in meetings, a lot of meetings, and sometimes it happens, those real conversations happen by the water cooler.
Exactly.
Right. And so I think when you think of neighborhood, we have a lot of water cooler type conversations. And that's where the magic happens. That's where things get done.
Well, it's the synergy.
Yes.
Right. So it's like I tell a lot of the newer agents that jump in the business when they, because we got so much freedom, they think, well, I don't have to go into the office or whatever. And I'm like, you need to be in the arena of the business, and because you're going to learn more with just the conversations and the interactions than sitting at home or not around it. You have to be in the business.
Right. Well, it's kind of like church, right?
Yeah.
They say you need to be amongst other believers, and we always talk about being like-minded, and this gives us an opportunity to do so. So definitely. So we talked about networking and collaborating and like-minded industry professionals. Tell me about how being a realtist has impacted your business. Anybody want to take that?
I guess I'll say the same thing we were mentioning a minute ago. I guess being in NAREB and how it impacts is, again, the resource sharing, the networking, all of those things have probably enhanced. I probably know about something I wouldn't have known about that's helped a client here and there, or just helped me do something different for my business to be more helpful.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And like for me, reaching out to other nonprofits, having the ability to call a person over at NeighborWorks who I didn't know until they came to a NAREB meeting to find out about a client that is trying to seek down payment assistance. That for me is invaluable because you wouldn't normally have that connection with someone. You wouldn't feel free to call them unless you had that soft introduction with a NAREB.
That's great. Lisa?
And for me, one of the biggest things would be the down payment resources. Specifically, my go-to person is always Henry Rucker with Banneker Realty and PPL. He has been very valuable to me and my clients for explaining different programs, some programs that I didn't know about. And I think what's valuable about being a realtist is that I'm able to go back to, they may be using another lender, and I'm like, hey, did you know you could layer this program with this? And I would say 9 times out of 10, the loan officers are unaware of the area specific programs.
I think you make a good point, Lisa, because it's important that you have the information, right? And it's important that there are seasoned professionals, right, that are that's a part of the network, that's a part of the group that you can rely on. And we're always looking for senior professionals, right, to come in that have that experience, that have that seasoned experience. We're also looking for new professionals, right, for new blood. I can tell you that there's various committees that we have, and I know, Lisa, you're a part of the communications committee at NAREB. Social media. Can you tell us a little about that?
Social media, what our job is making everyone who's going to the NAREB page versus network professionals as well as consumers a place where they can go to our Facebook, our Instagram, our LinkedIn, and get information about what NAREB has going on, information about home ownership, education, first-time home buyer classes that are coming available.
That's great. So we are in social media, right? Of course, we're on a podcast, right? But there's a website. What's our website? NAREBTC? TC.com?
Is it .com?
I'm
not website. I will. I am Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Anna Smith she does all of our website.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's narabtc.com.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm not that tech savvy.
Oh, okay, okay. So, how does a person, if there's someone listening, how does a person become a realtist? And do you have to be a real estate agent to be a realtist? How do you navigate through the process?
Well, we have a number of networking events and happy hours and stuff like that to invite people in to see what we're about and kind of catch the temperature of our group. And so that's one way to come check us out. There's obviously the website if people are looking for us that way. And no, you don't have to be a realtor. Again, we talked about you can be anything within the synergy of real estate. So that includes appraisers, lenders, and so on. So yeah, you don't have to be, but you can be part of NAREP.
Definitely, and I think we're inclusive, right? I mean, I think NAREP was started originally Blacks, African Americans, and I think our group, our chapter is very diverse.
It's very,
and I think it's important. I think we need each other to move this needle, right? To move the needle on home ownership and really to help fill to address the housing disparity gap. I think it's very important. Were you going to say something, Melissa?
I was not.
Oh, okay. You're just engaged to the conversation.
Pleading the fifth over there.
That's right. So my next question for you would be, why should a person choose a realtist? I'm house hunting and I'm just trying to figure things out, and I know that I need a real estate agent, right? Because they're the ones that have been to school and can write the contract. But why don't I just need a realist? Why do I need a realtist?
Can I answer that one?
You can take that.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to give you a prime example. We just experienced this. We had a client that came in to our organization, and they had went to a credit union to purchase a home with some money that their father left them in a will.
Okay.
After the process began, they said, I wonder if there's down payment money to help me. Now, this person is in under 60% area median income. They make about $40,000 a year. And their real estate agent, their realtor, did not know of down payment assistance. And that person did not help that person find the appropriate money that could have been given. So instead of, if that person had gone to a realtist, they would have received $25,000 in down payment assistance. Instead, their real estate agent moved the closing date up instead of out, and they lost out on getting that money. And they had to use every dime that their father left them.
Wow. That is missed opportunity.
And it really hurts my heart.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a good, why choose a realtist? Because they know, they have the information, they have up-to-date information on the market, the products, the programs that are out there. They're the ones that know. They are, I would say, the subject matter experts.
Absolutely.
I'm confident to say that when you're choosing a realtist, you're going to have somebody who's got passion about what we're doing here. And they're about your purpose, the client's purpose. Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? We're in it together kind of thing. So when you got somebody that cares, they're going to help you find it. They're going to go out and try to find every possible way to make this work for you.
I love that. I love that because, I mean, as realtists, we deal with other realtors. And you know what a realtor's priority is. And that's having somebody sign the paperwork, right? Sign the contract, right? To purchase the home. There's times when if I see a home that I wouldn't buy, we're walking, we're leaving. But you see other agents that just, okay, because all they're thinking about that bottom line is making that money, right? And money is good, but for me, I have to sleep at night. I got to put my head on the pillow and look at Kim in the morning, right?
Well, the last thing you want to do is leave a wake of bad business, because then you're constantly working hard to get new people. But if you do a great job, quality work, you're going to get residual business. You're going to constantly have people coming to you because you were their miracle worker or whatever. They
Right.
felt you. So
Right.
you don't want the people, we're concerned with our volume. That's our business, but you don't want your clientele to be feeling like they're just part of your volume. Then there's no connection. So why would they work with you again? And you kind of made them feel uncomfortable throughout it, but they're not always speaking up too that they felt bad. You just never hear from them again.
Right, right.
I think it's also too important for me. I'm not a car salesman. I'm going to tell you the truth, the good, the bad. And 9 times out of 10, I walk my clients. I'm like, nope, this isn't it.
Yeah.
And when we're in the houses, I'm going to give you the pros and the cons so you can make an educated decision. And as far as being a realtist, I'm relationship based. So it's very important for me to have good relations. And with my clients, you're not just a transaction to me. I want to maintain a relation with you. I think realtors come from a place of caring, not that other realtors don't care. I think that we
I think
care,
the priority.
Yes.
The priorities.
So we're not coming from dollar signs first. We're coming from service first. And I'm not knocking any realtors who aren't a member of NARAB. I'm just saying the like-mindedness.
Yeah, I like that. I like the word you chose, service. And I think that speaks highly of NARAB in the work that's done through NARAB, through their Realtist. It's about serving others. And I think, about the movement in general, right? It's always been about helping out our people and serving others and really addressing, we talked earlier about the disparities in home ownership. Well, those disparities in home ownership have attributed to the wealth disparity that plagues us and continues to plague us.
Can I add one thing to that? I did an interview, I don't know how long it was ago, and it was about the homeownership disparity and about how, specifically in North Minneapolis, that one investor owned 43% of all the properties over there. And I got a client from there who saw it on TV and had no idea. He was an investor, but just a few properties, and he had no idea. He and his wife, and I talked about NARAB on that, what we do, educating and informing and advocating for minority home ownership. And they called me up and wanted to work with me because it was important to them, that was important to me, and in trying to educate and inform about the disparity about minority home ownership.
Yeah. That's great. I was born and raised on the north side of Minneapolis, and at one point, it was home ownership. It was truly home ownership, and after the foreclosure crisis, it changed. And it really changed quickly. Because go ahead, Brian.
Unfortunately, we're impacted more every time there's some sort of hit to the real estate industry, when it's the mortgage foreclosure situation, even now with COVID and all of that, it seems like we're just hit the hardest when it comes to home ownership. The foreclosure rate goes up for us, so that disparity, it's like we get 2 steps forward, 4 steps back.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's the information, right? And you think about who gets the information first, right? You think about COVID and the dollars that came out with COVID, and then you hear the stories about how much fraud was going on. People got the money, but it wasn't the people that needed the money, right? And it wasn't those that are underserved. And I think of other programs that are out there. It's who gets the information, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing the podcast, to get the information out there, to educate people. Like we've had the nonprofit showcase. We talked about different products and programs, down payment assistance that's available. If you connect with any realtist, they can provide you with that information. And I think that's important that we get that information early on, because a lot of times we're late to get the information, and we miss out on the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that NARAB is about you not missing out on that opportunity, getting that information as quickly as possible to people, to communities of color, so you can take fullest advantage of those opportunities that are out there. I think that's truly important.
And like for me, I know a lot of realtors that have no idea about down payment assistance, nor do they care to know, because it takes longer.
Those are the volume-driven people.
Yeah.
Those are the folks that just, I mean, how do you serve your, how do you even do business without knowing the tools of your trade?
Yeah, I mean, it takes it. You said it takes longer if you know what you're doing. It doesn't. You know, it may take 15 days longer. Correct. Let's just be for real.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
But it doesn't take, it's not like months longer. You're going to close, right? And if you know what you're doing, and if you're, the one thing that I like about NARAB is, and I think Lisa, you talked about this being a realtist, is the connections that you've made, right? With a lot of the nonprofit organizations that are doing the down payment assistance, right? And how they have relationships with a lot of the lenders. They're talking to each other, right? And so a lot of them, they're transactions. I know you had mentioned Henry Rucker. You know, there's also Trent Bowman, and there's also
Melissa.
Yeah, there's also Melissa, and there's also George, right? Gershon. And so those are mortgage companies. And so they're having those conversations. Like if I have a deal, right, and it's with Trent, I can pick up the phone and call Trent. A lot of times I'll deal with Henry and getting them prepared, because if they're not ready, I'm going to send you to an advisor. I'm going to send you to a Melissa. I'm going to send you to a Lance, right? Get my people ready. When you get my people ready, then we got a mortgage ready. Then we'll talk to the mortgage loan officer who we know, right? And we're having these conversations to make it happen for you. And I think that in this environment, in the NARAB environment, this can happen. But if you put it anywhere else, it doesn't happen anywhere else.
I agree with that. I also think too, sometimes some loan officers will have, like they might be trying to reach somebody at PPL or Model Cities or, Ramsey County about a down payment, and you might get a voicemail. Well, we have a bat line, being Realtist.
That's right.
Bat line to, let me find out about that. And oftentimes I'll get the information before that person does, because of my community. My community is awesome.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce, you guys. That's a secret sauce. Brian, were you going to say something?
No. I'm with you guys. I'm hearing you. I'm listening. I'm just like, yeah.
I like the bat line.
You like the bat line? I like the bat line. I like the bat line. I like the secret sauce. So I'm going to go off script, and I think we're probably running short on time, but I'm going to go off script a little bit, and I'm going to ask you guys a question. You guys are in the market today. You guys are dealing with customers. What are some of the questions? What are the questions that they are asking you today in today's market? What are the questions that you're getting? I'm just curious, because we have listeners.
The number one question is, when are the prices coming down?
No.
Is it crazy right now with the rates being this high? That kind of conversation.
I heard the market's pretty slow. Is it? It's slowing down.
Traditionally, it's slow right now anyway.
Yes.
Even if it was 3%.
Because we're going into
the fourth quarter, we got the spring market or the fall market picking up, and typically the last 2 weeks of August is kind of like the Christmas period. It's like there's not much going on. People are enjoying the last piece of summer. They're doing, they're out and about. They're getting ready for school. Even this particular week of Labor Day week, it's really slow because folks are still trying to get used to whatever program, whatever schedule they got. So we'll be next week before we see the doors blow open.
Right.
And people want to get this done. In Minnesota, obviously, the weather takes a toll on our business, so people want to get it done before the snow flies. So between now and Thanksgiving,
things slow down. So what about 2024? What go back to the questions that I asked, the questions that you're getting. I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
I forget the question now.
The question is, what questions are they asking you?
What's going to happen with rates? What's going to happen with the market?
Should I buy now?
Should I buy now?
Or should I wait?
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
And what is your response?
My answer to should you buy now
Absolutely.
Should I wait is no. Now.
Now, why should I buy now? Why should I buy now, Brian? The rates are so high.
The rates
They're
are
higher
high
than they've ever been.
The rates are
Right?
high, but the prices are where they're at today. But you won't get tomorrow's, tomorrow's price isn't going to be today's price. Rates may stay the same, but they may drop. They're going to flex at some point. But do you want to wait till then and now you're paying that much more for the house with the higher rate, or lower rate, but you're still paying more for the house? You've missed out on all of this equity in the meanwhile. And you can always date the rate, marry the house. So you go ahead and get in the door now,
Oh my God.
change it up later.
Date the
Date
rate,
the rate.
marry the house. I hear you. Because things are secular, right? Things
Right.
change. What
Yeah.
goes up must come down. Isn't that what they say?
Exactly.
You were saying something, Melissa, like no.
No, I was agreeing completely with Brian. You buy right now. Why would you wait?
You
So
said when I said I made the comment, rates are the highest that they've ever been. I
said
shouldn't
no,
buy.
they have not been the highest they've ever been.
Thank you.
Because when I bought my house in 2001, we paid 8%. So when the rates kept going down and down and down, we would refinance every 2 points. We got to the point where the rates were at 3.5% on our last refi. But our house price kept going up and up and up every
Mhm.
single year.
That's
And
that
we-
equity.
That equity. And we were able to cash out of that equity partially so I could start my tax business.
That's great.
And as of today, our house is completely paid off. We have equity sitting out there that we can access at any point for any reason. And it's wonderful.
That's all about building the
House
wealth.
paid off. That's the
House
American
paid off.
dream.
That is.
Yeah.
That is. I think we have a display up just showing you what some of the interest rates are. It looks like, my goodness, back in 1984, is that? No, 82.
81.
81, 16.65%.
Yes.
That was the interest rate. I remember. I won't tell you the year, and you can probably look and figure it
No,
out.
but
But
she-
I
No,
remember.
I mean, those rates aren't that long ago, because when I
Yeah.
first was buying places in like 98, 96, it was
Mhm.
12%. My first loan was 12 and 10. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
and that was way longer than that.
Yeah, and just think if you purchased a property at whatever price it was at that time in 1980, comparison to now, that equity that you would have built, right?
Right.
And then you would have had an opportunity to refinance, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that that's very important. You know, people say, when's the right time to buy? I think, Brian, you said like yesterday, right? Because
Yeah.
there's
I
no
mean,
better time.
we're kind of living through the history where we're seeing things turn a corner, where we're seeing a price change. I mean, back in the 80s, the houses were like, the median house price was like 48 grand, 50,000. We're not going to do that again. You're just
Mm-mm.
not seeing that. And right now, we're just not going to see the house that's 150 that's livable right now. It's just not
Right.
that day
Because
anymore.
prices
Right.
are still going up.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. There's no crystal ball. We don't have it. We would like to have it about what's going to happen with the market. We do always know that people are always going to buy. People are always going to sell for life changes. But the people now are like, the rates are too high. I should have bought when they were 3%. And 3%, they paid way more. They almost auctioned off their kids trying to get into a house. And the people who didn't buy in 3%, maybe wish they would have bought in 2008 when the market crashed. So there's always a thing like, well, I should have bought then.
Yeah.
So don't kick yourself.
Yeah.
Buy when it's right for you. But
Yeah, you made a good point earlier when we were having our discussion about now's the time to buy, because even if the rates, you seem that they're higher and that you kind of have less competition,
that's
right?
competition.
Yeah, and I
'Cause-
think, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because when the rates were 3%, we were seeing appraisal gaps, waived inspections. People were offering $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over value. And the average was like 9 to 12 purchase agreements on a property. Now it may be multiple offers because inventory is short, but you may only be competing with one or two people. So better to, even though the rates aren't great, but the lower they go, the more people are going to get off the fence.
Yeah.
So
Well,
take action now if you can. Otherwise, you can wait, but then you'll be paying more. Then you're like, oh, I wish I would have bought.
well, then if you wait till the rates get low, what's going to happen?
The
Prices
market's
up.
prices are going to go up.
Everybody's going to, yeah.
And then you're going to say, oh, I wish I
Now
would have
there's-
bought last year.
Now there's 15 people at every house.
Mhm.
That is so true.
Mhm.
That is so true. You know, my brother, I think I told this story once, but me and my brother were going house shopping 2 years ago. And it was a house in North Minneapolis, and he decided not to purchase the property. But 2 years later, that property is like almost 20 grand more. And so he kind of like, and I think actually it went on the market, right? And he was kind of like, because I send him houses to look at, right? And but that was equity. And you can build your equity if you decide, if you hesitate to purchase.
It's a savings account, versus renting. Their money's going out the window. And people are like, I'm paying that much every month for my mortgage. Well, you're going to pay off the landlord's place when you could just put that money away. When you get ready to make a move, you're taking that money to the next place and building on top of that. So the mindset has got to be right.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I always say you're paying someone's mortgage, right? Either you're paying your mortgage or somebody else's mortgage. That's the bottom line. And a lot of people are renting, and some people,
it's necessary.
It's necessary, and some people, that's what they choose to do. But if you're thinking about purchasing a home and you're currently a renter, I think it's something to consider. Build equity and build a legacy. Build wealth for your family. I think that's very important, and we talk about that all the time. That's a priority in families. I said earlier I work with a lot of single women, and when I say to them, because they're renting, when I say to them about for their families, building a legacy, something to pass on, it's like a bell rings, and they're like,
pride.
yeah, they're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this for your children. Who doesn't want more for your children than what you had, right? And something to pass on to leave to them, which I think is great. So as we close, I just want to ask any of you, is there anything that anything you missed out on saying, or anything you want to share with the audience that you'd like to convey? Last words?
Hey, I'm thankful to be here. Thank you for having us on here today and to be able to share that. I mean, there's so many different conversations we can have. So if people would just reach out to us, they'll come get the information. We have it for you. If you're not sure, that's okay. It's a slow process. You want to understand it. We're here to help you out on that. So thank you for having us here.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you for having us. And I would say, even if you're not ready now, at least if you get the information and you meet with a home ready program or a loan officer, they can at least give you a roadmap how to get there. It may not be your time right now, but eventually you could be on a 1-year plan, a 2-year plan. At least they can give you the right tools and the right information. So when you are ready to take action and start that process, you will be well equipped. You won't be delayed because you've done your homework ahead of time.
That's great. Thank you.
And for me, it's get ready, be ready. So there's a lot of money coming down for down payment assistance in the state of Minnesota. And there's going to be a lot of people that won't be ready when it happens. And if you don't hear us now, you don't have to buy a house today, but get in a position, because if you improve your credit, that can affect you on buying a car, buying, your insurance rates, getting a job. But if you sit on the sideline and say, I'm not ready to buy a house, I'm not going to do anything right now, well, you're not going to be ready when that money comes down.
Yeah. I think that's great. When you were talking, I was thinking about confidence. And I think we need to have confidence in our abilities as Black folks. I'm just putting it out there. I think it's important, and be ready. You never know when it's your time, right? You never know when you find that right house and you didn't do the work. I think NABRAB is here to provide you, as Lisa said, with the tools and the resource to help you do the work. We can't do the work for you, but we'll give you everything, all the resources, tools that you need to do the work, to achieve home ownership and to build wealth for you and your families. I think that's very important. And I think with that, that's a wrap. I think we're going to wrap it
Yes.
up. Thank you all for listening and joining us. We'll have other podcasts. I know we have other podcasts that are available. I encourage you to go to the NAREB TC website to get information on our networking events, also our all member meetings. You can come there. You can be a visitor or join us. If you're looking to be a real estate agent, we can provide you with those tools. So thank you for listening.
NBC. No relation to NBC.